Let's go.
Welcome to the Trusted Leader Show. I'm your host, David Horsager. Join me as I sit down with influential leaders from around the world to discuss why leaders and organizations fail, top tactics for high performance, and how you can become an even more trusted leader. Welcome to the Trusted Leader Show. It's David Horsager. I have a good friend, a brilliant entrepreneur, and the founder of EideCom with today, Charles Eide. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, David. It's so great to see you, man.
Hey, just full disclosure, he is a friend, but he has produced some of our best and biggest events, trusted back when we did the Trust Edge Summits. Now we have the Trusted Leader Summit coming up. He did our widely acclaimed virtual event out of their studio, which was like April 14th and 15th of the pandemic. And we had people on from around the world. I remember Kyrgyzstan. And you know, this is, whoops, I'm throwing my pen, but this is interesting because even back, we held 82 CEOs and senior executives for 2 8-hour days virtually.
That was amazing. I mean, only you could hold the attention.
And the studio and the lights and the interaction and all that. So, you know, there's a lot more to you, and I'm so excited. I mean, you've started companies. You're selling one of your companies, spinning one right now. You are, since I've known you, you've been this entrepreneur, but also, so not just this kind of faux solo entrepreneur, this leader of people that's growing real businesses. You're a family man. You fly your own plane, which I've had the opportunity to go with you on some fun things. There's a lot to you, but give us a couple more insights, backgrounds on Charles Eide.
Well, first of all, David, this is so fun to be doing a podcast with you. You are a brilliant guy, and I absolutely love following all the things you do. So I guess you'd say that it all comes down to the things that you are passionate about, but that you're also good at, right? Like we've all watched American Idol, where there are people that are wildly passionate about being famous singers, but they're not good at singing, and we all know it. I think it comes down to kind of identifying those things in your career that you're really good at and focusing on those things. I read a book a long time ago, and I don't remember the name of it, but what I took away from it was forget about improving on the things you're terrible at. Start improving on the things you're good at, because you'll become so good at them. And so that was kind of my thing when I was a kid in high school. I was really into audio, visual, and technology, and it kind of, I got good at it. I got not good at like the technical stuff as much as understanding how an audience reacts to the things that you do. And, you know, I knew that I could find great audio technicians. I could find great lighting designers. I could find great video engineers. But really where my talent was in understanding how you can make an audience feel a certain thing. And so today we do that for audiences all over the world, mainly for big internal corporate meetings that are, you know, multiple days. They're indoors. We don't do anything, you know, it's funny, you meet people and they're like, so like, do you do like concerts then? You know, and you're like, well, no, we don't do concerts unless it's for one of our clients. Like, you know, it's part of the show, then maybe we'll do a concert.
So, but, you know, I've seen, you know, you've produced some massive leadership events. We've been a part of both, not just ours, but others that are significant. And you do have an eye on that. But, I also think, you know, sometimes you don't see your own gifting. What I see you as just this well-rounded, gifted entrepreneur that is actually really able to lead people well, inspire up. Like your sales team is better than any I've met. You've got a tech team that's fantastic and will come in and serve. I know, you know, they're like, oh, we had some big issues. We had at our last kind of global event, we had a Zoom update that didn't, that happened the night before, and they're just jumping and helping, making this happen. So we're starting at a high level with, I don't know how many cameras and everything. And, I just think somehow, at least the people you're around, not to mention Mike, Danielson, and you just have great people. But you've made that happen. I've watched leaders kind of have vision, stay solo, not hire right, not build a certain type of culture. And I guess I would say, ask if this is true. Like somehow you do it. Well, being not just winging it, but kind of able to like pivot fast and like bring them with, and not do every, culture thing perfectly. And maybe you got vision, but it's not like I set up this whole culture roadmap and the right perfect things, but we just go and people come along. So, I don't know. Tell us a little bit about your leadership style.
Well, I think it's important to remember it all starts with vision, right? It all starts with what is the vision of the company and how do we achieve that vision? And you can be really good at structuring departments. In fact, we had a meeting this morning about that. It's like, how do we structure our organization to be more effective? But really, it all comes down to empowering great people to do great work, and seeking those people for the things that they're really passionate about, but they're also extremely talented at doing, and then believing in them and empowering them to maybe even spread their wings beyond what they thought they could do.
So let's stop right there and say, how do you hire those people? Because there's a lot of problems for people to say, well, I want the people like you seem to draw, like they're motivated and they're like, what is it you look for in, yes, there's some things that are different with salespeople, production people, managers, but what is it as a whole that fits in this dynamic culture? Another thing people should know, you were able to pivot during the pandemic in like one of the most hit industries in the world, and you created a new technology we're going to talk about later. You're doing some of the most amazing virtual events, but it's just somehow how you hire is fascinating to me. How do you find them, this kind of person, and get them to come along the journey with you?
Well, I think that's a really great question. I really believe like attracts like, but you can't really attract great people unless you really know who you are first. And so for us, it was establishing core values that really identified the things that were important to us. And so we have 4 core values at EideCom: positive, creative, effective, and team player. Those are the 4 things that we live by here. And when you make those clear in job descriptions and in interviews, you almost scare away the people that don't resonate with those things while attracting the people that are like, oh my gosh, I've always been looking to work at a company that has positive people and they're creative, but they're effective in what they do. And wow, we're a team. And so I think starting out with the vision and the core values is absolutely the center of attracting great people. And then, of course, living by them and talking about them. It's funny. We talk about the core values of this company at every Monday morning meeting. We have an all-company huddle every Monday at 9. And that all-company huddle, we talk about the core values. And it's funny because the people who have been here the longest, they've heard it the most, and they're the most excited about it because they see the impact it has when the new people come in. We're hiring multiple people per month, and they come in, and the people who have embraced the core values and the vision of the company, they almost get re-energized when new people join the team. They're like, oh my gosh, like I'm not insane for working here clearly because here's another nut job that wants to be positive with me. So I think like attracts like, and I think being clear, crystal clear about what are your core values, embody those things and how they relate to the vision, and the right people will always reveal themselves.
How do you do you lead the meeting still on Monday mornings, or somebody else?
It depends. So I have a business partner, Mike Danielson. You know him, David. And Mike has been running the meetings lately, but sometimes I'll run them. My goal really is to empower my staff to actually start running them. I want to let the other voices that want to be heard be heard.
Well, I didn't know where we would go today, but we're going to go granular. What's a meeting? What's the Monday morning huddle look like? You got the whole team. I mean, we're going to go all over the place, but we're going to try to do it fast because I want to suck the marrow of life out of your brain.
Totally. Well, hey, that's what we're here to do. The Monday morning meeting, usually we start out by...
What are the key components? Yeah.
Yeah, so we start out by like any updates that are going on. What are you excited about? So usually we'll say, would anybody like to share something that they're excited about that has happened in the last week or that's coming up? We also allow people to share good news about each other, brag on each other. Hey, I was working on this project and Ryan really stood out as a key player and he made my life easier. We also share like good feedback from customers at the meetings, where a customer said something really great and we want to make sure people know about it. We review the previous week's work. So like, because we're in the event business, we'll show photos and all of the like beautiful things that our team designed and executed that week, as well as things that we're working on. Then we move into talking about the core values, and we talk about what are our 4 core values. And how does that relate? And then we move on to talking about the reading material. So everybody is assigned a book every quarter, and everybody is reading that book throughout the quarter. So we say, would anybody like to share something that they have learned this week in the reading? Right now, we're actually studying Daniel Pink on Masterclass. He's got this series, and so the sales and marketing team, we're studying the Daniel Pink Masterclass on sales, where the operations team is reading a book called It's Your Ship. And it's a book Mike and I read a while ago, and it basically talks about, and this book, David.
I know Mike Abershoff, the captain.
I mean, talk about an impactful book that empowers people to have a true impact on their own environment, their own culture. So we review the reading, and then we, is there any updates or things we need to talk about? Right now, our company is in the middle of building a brand new facility, and we've got a construction project that's, in the thick of it right now, including our studios and all this stuff. So we're talking about what are construction updates, are there any things that came to mind last week when it comes to the new space? And then just keeping people energized around the new things, the new people we're adding, any new hires that are coming up. Again, it's a very positive meeting around the growth of the company and how we're achieving the vision.
So do they share at that meeting, like how do they share their like weekly priorities or goals or commitments or that kind of thing? Where does that get shared? Is that online on Microsoft Teams, or is that, how do you keep them aligned with what each person needs to do to get there?
Yeah. So we're all in person, 100%. And that has been the case since the pandemic began. We decided against the idea of remote work. While the culture is telling us to do it, we said we're not going to do that. And so everybody's in person. Now, when it comes to the granular work that each person is doing, we follow the Traction EOS model very closely. We have an implementer. We are very serious about using Traction. And so we have weekly level 10 meetings for each department. So the leadership team has a weekly level 10, and then each of the departments, so sales and marketing has a level 10, administration has a level 10, and then operations has a level 10.
Okay. And sales and marketing, operations, and admin, they all have their own.
Yeah, they all have their own meeting. And in that meeting, I'm not sure how familiar you are, but I'll just share with the audience, the level 10 meeting, basically designed by Gina Wickman and the Traction team, which I'm honored, by the way. We will be producing the EOS Traction event coming up next year. Wow. How thrilled are we about that? What an amazing thing. But the EOS Traction model, the level 10 meeting, really embodies the important things. So it starts out with a segue where everyone shares. Then it moves into the scorecard, what's going on, and everybody has their metrics, and either you're on track or you're off track, right? And then your rocks. So like what you need to get done this quarter, are you on track or off track for your rocks? And then the to-do list and people headlines. And then IDS, which is where we spend most of our time identifying, discussing, and solving problems. And obviously, I won't get into the great, you're very familiar with this, but for the listeners, Traction's a great way the book, Traction by Gina Wickman's a great way to learn.
So do you, on that, and we use part of it, we have some things we filled in ourselves that we like, but basically on that, does the implementer, an outside hired consultant, an implementer in your case, lead all four of those meetings?
No, so our implementer only does the quarterly and the annual. So we have 3 quarterlies and an annual. And that implementer, we have Dan Moshe. I don't know if you've ever heard of Dan Moshe. Dan has been a game changer. I think he's the best implementer out there. But what I was going to say is he helps us develop the quarterly and the annual stuff that then carries into what we execute in each level 10 meeting. And then the leader of that department runs that meeting.
So, okay. At what point did you start? How many people did you have to start making it meaningful beyond like just having one of those weekly?
Well, I mean, when you've got a handful of people, let's say you got 3 to 5 people, I don't think you need multiple departments at that point. You've got all that wrapped together. It really started happening when we got up in the like teens, where it was like, when you got into 11, 12, 13, now you've got different departments.
Right.
Hey everyone, a quick interruption here to share some big news. April 12th through the 14th, you are invited to the Trusted Leaders Summit. What makes a powerful event is bringing together amazing people in a way that actually makes an impact in the world. We're talking about a get-together that is packed with immediately useful content. You'll hear from top leaders like John Foley, the former lead solo pilot for the Blue Angels, Harvard professor Alison Shapira, and more incredible global experts. Get your tickets before they're gone at trustedleadersummit.com and join us in becoming even more trusted leaders. We can't wait to see you there.
All right. Well, there's a lot here. How is you look back at you being kind of an entrepreneur a lot of your life, and what's changed for how you lead over time? How have you changed?
Yeah, that is probably the most interesting question I've been getting asked lately, because I have changed a lot. I think first of all, I used to always think that if you had people on your staff, you had to, if you hired people, you had to micromanage them. You had to lead with an iron fist. And, the old school way, like I grew up around my grandfather, and it was very like, lead with the iron fist. If they don't perform, you fire them. It was micromanaging them. What are you doing? I need to report every 30 minutes, or whatever. And, there was a shift I made where I said, why am I doing all this? I'm actually working more by doing that instead of hiring great people to do the job. And so I went from, and part of that was hiring the right people and really moving better people into the organization, where today I think we have so many people who are professional and amazing. I think hiring great people and trusting them to do the work. And I mean, just like you or me, David, the autonomy we have gives us the freedom to be creative and make great things happen. And we need to give that to our employees, because if you don't, and you don't trust them to do what they're there to do, maybe they shouldn't be there.
Yep.
So I think it's much more of a hands off from managing, but more of a trusting and caring for people.
Let's get personal for a second. At least the great leaders that I've talked to and been around, it seems like they have some ways they lead themselves well, or even some routines. And, we talk about it a lot. It's hard to be a great leader out there if you're not leading yourself well. The hardest person you have to lead is yourself. What do you do personally, discipline-wise, routine-wise, to be healthy as a leader? Maybe it's physically, spiritually, interpersonally, or otherwise. You have some things that you do?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I like to make sure that my daily routine is nearly the same every single day. I get up at the same time. I go to the office. I always go to the office unless I have a meeting. And that's really important. I also, probably about 2-3 years ago, decided that if I wasn't physically healthy, that I couldn't perform at my best. And so I said, enough is enough about feeling guilty. I work out best in the middle of the day. It makes my whole day better. And so I carve out time that is not negotiable. You cannot schedule me between 11:30 and 1 ever. I will not meet you I don't care who you are. My physical fitness in my body was even in my late 20s and early 30s was taking a back seat, and you could see it and I could feel it. The doctors, doctors are nice people and they don't like to tell you the truth. Or they don't like to tell you the cold truth. But the cold truth was I was in my mid 30s with the beginnings of heart problems, with high blood pressure and cholesterol and all these things that I just neglected. And I finally said, enough is enough. I need to take care of myself. So my physical body was, important.
I had a very similar experience, as you know, and it made all the difference. One of the problems is we just compare to other kind of average people in America. And, we're better than that. Well, that doesn't mean a lot sometimes. But
do you mind if I share something with you?
Yeah.
It's a revelation that I had for us leaders when it comes to taking care of our bodies. And this is something that took me years to figure out, and I figured it out and it made so much sense. As leaders, we're used to delegating out everything to the experts on our teams, right? We're used to coming up with master plans and then executing them by having others do that stuff. Your physical fitness and your health and your body cannot be delegated to anybody. And that's where we fail, is we think, if I hire a trainer and a nutritionist, I'll be fine. No, there is no leverage on this. It is a 1-to-1 work to return ratio. And there is no leverage. You can't put in 1 and get 5 with your body and your fitness. It does not work. And I think we have this mentality as leaders where we're like, there's got to be a shortcut. I mean, there's got to be some leverage in here somewhere. And the truth is, there is no leverage in it. It is a 1-to-1 input to return ratio, and you have to decide you're going to do it. And I think leaders struggle with it because we want to outsource everything.
Yeah. So what do you do? 11:30 to 1 is. Do you guys have a fitness place at your offices, or will you at your new one?
So our new facility will have a fitness center with the men's and women's restrooms. Both have showers, 2 showers in each one. We've got, we really are like, we're going all out on this.
So a lot of people don't have that. So what did you do the last while? Because you didn't have a fitness center in your last offices, did you?
No.
So
and where we are currently, there's no fit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I did hire a trainer. And I was like, I need this to be financially painful enough that I'll do the work. Because if I'm paying for a trainer to train me 3-4 days a week, it needs to be financially painful so that I do the work.
Did you go to a place?
Currently, gym? Yeah. I mean, that's where I train currently at North Loop Fitness in Minneapolis with my trainer. That's where he likes to meet.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's good. So, hey, do you mind getting personal here? What time do you get up and what time do you get to the office?
Okay. I am a lifelong night owl that is trying to train himself to not be one.
Yep.
What's funny is now I go to bed about 10:30. That's where I try and be in bed. And then I get up around 7. Sometimes if you ask my wife, she'd probably say 7:30.
Yeah.
So
there.
that's
then
my
you go
routine.
straight to the office, or do you hang out with the family first, or do you go straight to the office and you do family time a different time?
Yeah. So usually, the kids are kind of already underway there. The boys are waiting for the bus. Evelyn's already at school by then. And so we will, Jessica and I will sit and have coffee for about a half hour, sitting in the piano room while I'm eating or drinking my coffee, having my breakfast and so on.
And what about, so when do you see the kids and how are you intentional that way? Because I know you are.
Yeah, kids are, the evenings are better with the kids. They've had their school day. They're at home. We'll do fun little projects. Right now I'm working on the basement and putting in I'm putting in a fitness facility in my basement as well. We'll work out together. The kids, the boy, all 3 of them, we will work out together and they're getting into it. It was funny. The other day I was downstairs working out and my 6-year-old comes down and he doesn't say a word and he walks over to the dumbbells and grabs the 5s and he starts doing bicep curls by himself. Doesn't say a word to me. He's just doing bicep curls. And then he goes over and he sits on the bench. And it's funny because kids, it's like people on your team. They don't do what you say. They do what you do. And I don't know where he figured this out, but he starts doing a bench press with these dumbbells. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. So we like to work out. We have a very fit family. My wife is actually a trainer. And so she keeps us all in line as well. And she cooks a healthy dinner. I get home at night and there's chicken with no seasoning on it at all.
There you go.
and then chicken, vegetables.
Right on the bone.
Lots of chicken.
So, that's it. This is a fun one for me this week because it just happened this week. And to my kid, my two youngest, my youngest is, he's skiing. He's on the aerial ski team, snow skiing, and does lacrosse and some of these things. But he asked my daughter, who's dance and stretching and all that kind of stuff, he said to her, the 13-year-old to the 14-year-old, can you be my trainer and my coach and help me get stretched out so I can do these aerial things? And he's a great little athlete, but it's kind of fun seeing the work. So she said, okay, be up at 6 tomorrow morning. We're meeting. We're gonna start this training session. So they're starting to train together.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah, that's so fun. So let's go to, you've learned a lot in your career. What are you learning right now?
I'm learning a lot of stuff. I'm learning to be patient. That is like my lifelong thing, is being patient. I'm
That's
a very
so challenging
impatient
for us that
person.
are entrepreneurs. It's like we needed to move mountains, but that seems like it's a common thread for me. It's like this. There's, in some ways, I think actually impatience is a value for entrepreneurs to push the mountain down. Turns out it's not so great at home or with kids or with relationships. So we have to work against that in human relationship. And yet we have to, I'm made to be a driver in a way too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. It's like I am naturally a very impatient person. I expect things to be done a certain way in a certain time period, and I'm not very patient about it. And then you're totally right. When you go home, you're like, I need to be patient. I know that Jessica told me this 30 times, but I need to listen to her tell me it a 31st time. You're like, I have to be patient. But then, of course, there's times where I'll be like, we're doing what with who? And she'll be like, I have told you this 30 times and I'm going to kill you. So I think, patience goes both ways. But in the workplace, I think that if you're naturally an impatient person, it's just coming down to how you harness that impatience. Because I will say that it is good to drive results and to hold people accountable, but you also have to be patient with people, especially when they're learning as well. So
and I think in a pandemic and with all the things happening, there was definitely a time to start and show up with empathy first. No doubt about it.
That's how we got through it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we got through it, was to care for the team first. And I've always been, everybody says, David, they always go, well, the customer is always first. And you know what? I decided a long time ago, my team is first, because if they're first, they will put the customer first.
Right. Totally true.
So I always have their back no matter what.
Are you thinking about following up on the learning question? Are you curious about anything right now that you're like pressing into? You're like, I'm curious about this right now, whether it's, a certain technology or leadership or how our world's going to be or how you're going to solve
Well, I mean, I'm always curious how the world's going to be. And I'm kind of one of those rebels when like the world tells me to do something. I'm like, no. I'm not doing that. I wrestle with that stuff. But I mean, from a technology standpoint, we started a company called Second Stage, and it's a software company that has a product. We only have one product right now. It's a great product that basically is a virtual venue for events. So if you have an event going on and you want to provide an online audience with a great experience, Second Stage is a great product for that. We're also finding that it's also really good for the in-person audience. So like imagine you're at a conference in Las Vegas and there's a speaker coming up, but you want to run back to your room, or you want to sit by the pool and you want to watch the general session from the pool. Second Stage is a great way you can pull up the schedule, click on it, and watch the live content or the pre-recorded content. So we developed that, but I'm still learning about technology and I get frustrated with myself about it because my mind doesn't work like that. And I don't really understand timelines and how stuff works around developing software and features and rolling them out. And I struggle with it. And so it's something I'm really trying to wrestle with and understand better right now.
It's interesting, just thinking how parallel our journeys are. I remember when kind of my tech director said, David, believe it or not, you've just become overnight the CEO of a tech company. And I'm like, no, because I don't even like posting on Facebook, right? I don't like social media. But when we built the platform, one of the things I think that I'm excited about is that we kept the human component of real people, but our Trust Edge certified platform where people can measure and get reinforcement, all these tools, that was a big, massive, fun learning for me, and it still is. It's part of our whole way of building trust in the world. But it's kind of interesting because we were kind of starting our technology journey a few years ago about the same time.
I have a family member who's made his entire career in the tech world. And he's brilliant beyond me. And he said to me, he's like, look, we are all always learning in this. So don't think you're going to figure it out because you won't.
Right.
I'm like, oh, that's reassuring. Thanks.
Exactly. And yet at the center of almost every business will be technology in, this decade. You won't find one without. That doesn't mean there won't be an absolutely human component. I think people are wrong a little bit in thinking it really people should still be at the center, but technology will be able to amplify a lot of things, even as you noted, the in-person experience. What's your biggest hope for the future?
That's a really big question, David. Are you referring like
anyway, business, life, personally?
Well, I would say world peace, but I think we've been at that for a long time and I haven't seen it yet. I feel like I even look at, I'm watching World War II in color on Netflix and I'm like, I don't think we're ever going to have peace. I really wish we would, but
Are there side projects like that though that you're trying to make a dent in? I mean, we love trying to make a dent in certain global corruption issues with our trust work and things, but are there things you're thinking about that way? Like you really hope, maybe it's for your kids, but maybe it's for the future. Maybe it's some of the things you're doing on the side. I know you have a heart for transformation and things. Are there things you're thinking about that you don't mind sharing publicly that you'd hope?
I mean, my thing is like, I just hope that I can help. My real thing is I want to help other young entrepreneurs see the value they can bring this world. I think that, that was me. And I actually had a couple of really great mentors along the way that made all the difference in the world to me. And they weren't even super hands-on. They were like at a distance. I have mentors today that still mentor me, like Chris Lindahl. He's a big real estate guy here in the Twin Cities. He calls me and we'll talk on the phone, just randomly talk on the phone for an hour about like the biggest challenges that I'm facing, or like roadblocks he sees coming up for me that I didn't even see. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like what a gift to have friends that are so good like that. And I want to be able to be that for others along the way. There's this really cool young kid. His name's Julian. And I met Julian when I was speaking at, I think it was Maranatha. It's a private school here in the Twin Cities. And I was speaking to their senior class and he comes up to me afterwards and he's like, hey, I'm thinking about starting this business where it will fuel up your car in the parking lot. And I was like, that's brilliant. And he was like, yeah, I've got investors and I got all this going. He's like, I don't need money. I just want to know you and, once in a while reach out. I tell you what, this kid this summer shows up to my office with his truck, and it's got the fueling equipment on it and all the professional stuff. He's got the uniform. He's like, I got the app. And I'm like, oh my gosh, come in and let's talk about this. This is so exciting. So if I can help 1 or 2 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 entrepreneurs do better, I will be happy.
There's a lot more we could talk about. I love that. Mentoring goes both ways. You learn so much when you mentor. Also, as you know, well, here we go, Charles. There's a lot more we could talk about, and we have fun doing it. But where can people find out more? Where's the one key place people can find out more about Charles Eide or EideCom?
Well, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Charles Evan Eide. Eide is spelled E-I-D-E. I'm pretty active on Instagram. Also, we just launched a brand new EideCom.com. So it's EIDECOM.com, 1M. And there's plenty of cool stuff on EideCom.com. And then, of course, if you want to check out our event platform, it's called Second Stage. If you just Google Second Stage Event Platform, you'll find it.
That's perfect. And as always, Kent will put all of this in the show notes, trustedleadershow.com. You can find everything about Second Stage and EideCom and, just his Instagram, everything he's doing. Charles, you're amazing. We need to go fly somewhere again.
Anytime, Dave. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's jump over to
Great
Oshkosh
to see you, and thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. Let's jump to Oshkosh again next year, huh?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, this has been the Trusted Leader Show. Thank you, Charles. Until next time, everybody, stay trusted.